Here we're getting ready to do drum brakes on a 3/4 ton Chevy. It's got bad wheel cylinders, so, well, one of them's supposedly leaking. That's why it was brought in. So I'm gonna tear it down. We'll put all new shoes and stuff on it. We'll clean up all the mating surfaces where the shoes ride, get some slide grease on them. And this is always helpful videos for people doing this at home or however, because you'll be able to see how everything goes, see all the springs and where all your hardware and fixtures go. That way, if you have any problems, you can see it. These up, and that's where your shoes actually slide. When they get pressed in and out, they slide against these flat surfaces here. So you want to make sure you get them clean and get some either brake parts lubricant on it, or even Never-Seez is good. That's what I usually use, is some Anti-Seize on those. Just a little bit though, because we all know how Anti-Seize is. A little drop of it and you're covered in it. But that's where that goes, so your shoes can slide back and forth. As soon as we get some shoes going here, I will video the rest of it. All right, those are the spots that you need to have the Anti-Seize on, so your brake shoe will slide as best as possible. Rule of thumb too, I just ordered all the parts. I don't know which side's right and which one's left, and trying to jack with looking it all up. I've got the same part number for both wheel cylinders, so these two are the same. So there isn't a right and a left. Sometimes there is some right and left wheel cylinders. That's not very common, but there is such things. But they have the same part number, so it doesn't matter which one's right, which one's left. When it comes down to the hardware kit, I will show you how to determine which one's which also. You always want to look at your shoes really well, because there is usually a front and rear. There is a difference in them. Sometimes there's not, but usually there is. As you can see, the shoe material here is a lot thinner than this one here. You want to put your thinner one on the front and your thicker one on the rear. Your moving parts, you want to try to keep Never-Seez on it or some sort of lubricant. I like using Never-Seez because it doesn't really go away, but this is part of the parking brake adjuster that goes in the shoe and it moves, so I like to get some Never-Seez on it. All right, I did not take the springs out of the nails on this, but they've got two different heights springs that the nails go through with the top caps. And in order to figure out which one's the right one, I look at the old shoes here. But if you look at this side, there's nothing here. It's just the stopper where the spring goes. This side, it's raised a little bit because of the adjuster here, your auto adjuster. So that means that this side's going to take the shorter one because it's thicker over here versus this side. So the trick to drum brakes is you get one side done at a time. This side's got all your mechanism and stuff on it. So try getting this side done first because this is your most pain in the rear. The other side doesn't have as much going on to fight it on. So get one side set, how it goes. Then you want to put your springs on last once you get everything else set. But we'll go from there. You make sure you get Never-Seez on all your moving parts. I've already Never-Seezed this one. And then something else, when you go to put it together, you want to make sure the end that doesn't unscrew, so your swivel end, goes towards the side that has the foot here, because you don't want your travel distance to be any different right here, because this needs to catch for it to work right on your adjuster. So your adjusting side, which is the side that screws in and out, goes away from it. So it'll go in here like so. In this kit, it came with two different kinds of blue springs. Well, to tell which one is the right one for the right spot, you always want the wider side right here where your adjuster is. See how it clears the top of where your adjuster goes? So that means this one here is the one that you want to use on the bottom. Then this one you want to use up towards the top side. We go to that. We're now going to test the two easiest things first. So we're going to check our batteries, which I've already done. Unhook your ground terminal. All you gotta do is unhook one side to check both batteries. But there is two batteries in this truck, and in order to check both of them, we really need to unhook one terminal on it, so we're checking each battery individually. It doesn't matter if the positive's hooked up because you're only using the ground from the one battery. So it's gonna tie from battery per se to battery. But anywho, they both tested good, which they're fairly new batteries. But I do see some corrosion right here, some nasty, nasty stuff. So we're gonna clean all that up. But to check the battery cables, how do we know if it's battery cables? One moment. Anywho, how do we know if it's a battery cable or not? It's a good question. How do you check for a battery cable? It's actually quite simple, and you can use any multimeter. Just because I have this one here from Snap-on doesn't mean that yours from Harbor Freight isn't gonna work. It will. They all have a continuity checker on them. So you wanna go to a continuity ohms test, and you wanna make sure you're within 5 ohms is about the going resistance on any circuit. Oh, wrong button. Range. Okay, I want ohms, and then function, I want continuity. So it's gonna beep if we complete the circuit. And it'll tell us how much resistance we have, which is 0.2 to 0.12. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So what we'll do is we'll actually check our continuity from this terminal to that terminal, and then we'll do the same thing with ground to ground and from ground to ground. And we'll check all of our wires that way and make sure there's no corrosion or high resistance in those circuits. If there's high resistance, then we have lower voltage, and there can be the reason for our code. But same way with corrosion right here. Like, it's definitely not making good contact. That is not good at all. So we're gonna get all that cleaned up. I've got some battery terminal cleaner, and I've got the little rubber, or the little disc things to go under it, so hopefully it'll keep it from corroding. But this is what you want to start with on checking anything, especially electrical. Using a multimeter with the continuity check on it is a good way to start. I use it a lot. And something really nice, if you haven't seen on this meter, it does have a Bluetooth button. I actually have an app on my phone, and I can record what I'm doing. So if I need to leave the meter up here and I need to crawl under the truck and wiggle a wire, I can actually leave the meter hooked to the wire up here and wiggle it and record it and watch it on my phone from down there. So it makes it really nice. I can change the functions on with my phone on the meter, and it was well worth the investment for as much electrical as I do. But we're gonna get into this, and I'll show you what it's supposed to do, or how you're supposed to do it, and we'll go from there. And a question you guys probably have: why am I starting with the simple stuff if I think it's a computer? Well, here's what you want to do in electrical. It's called the KISS program. Keep it stupid simple, or keep it simple stupid, however you want to look at it. So you always check your fuses and relays first, then you work down the line and go to checking your continuity and your wires and so on and so forth. Electrical's not that hard. If you can turn the meter on how I did, and you can read a wiring diagram, which if you guys put in the comments that you want to learn more about it, I will print off wiring diagrams and run through it and how to read them, and I will put a little series out on electrical. It's not very hard. It's very simple to pick up. Everybody puts it out there as worse than what it really is. It is not that hard. Yeah, just leave some feedback in the comments if you want to see some videos like that. I'll put some videos together. I do have some really nice electronics books and stuff like that I can get some pictures out of for the video. So this is definitely the worst connection out of all of them. I'm getting them all cleaned up. I've got the grounds clean, the positive on the other side's clean, but this one's gonna take a lot of work. Wire brushed the top and bottom surface of these. I cleaned all this up and cut it down, and I've drilled out my top side connector so we can get it all to slide together without having to come up with a crafty way to get it to come in. But it'll make a good connection this way. I'm gonna put a bunch of dielectric grease around it as well, and we're gonna make this work. So at least determine whether or not the problem is our problem, and we can even put a new battery cable end on it, but I don't have any different ones than this right now, so this is gonna work for the time being. All right, we got it all together now. That's on there really well. So unfortunately this wouldn't fit and get the nut to start and actually get tight with this on here, so we had to swing it out of the way, but I don't want to leave it off. But anywho, we'll leave all that alone. This will still cover it all up. So I'm gonna get this all together. I gotta get some dielectric grease on all this so it doesn't corrode, put those little anti-corrosion pads on them, and we'll get it all together, clear the code, and see if it pops it up again.